Well, last time we were talking with Bill and Pam Farrel about this trend of going no contact or having very little contact with your parents, with your children, your grandchildren. And so in this episode, we're going to go back and look at Pam's family of origin. And I think what it's going to do is give her some credibility here when she tells you that you can build bridges between these different generations. And so, if you don't know Bill and Pam, let me tell you a little bit about them. They have together written over 60 books. Pam and Bill are the authors of Men Are Like Waffles, Women Are Like Spaghetti. They're relationship experts, they're international speakers, and the directors of Love Wise. That's Love Dash Wise. And they've been married for 45 years. They have three grown children. And today, Pam's going to tell us the story about her alcoholic father and how God has redeemed this relationship. I would love to hear your story. Tell us what have you learned by experience?
You get started.
So I'll start, and that is, I'm the firstborn daughter of an alcoholic dad with severe rage issues. I always thought that we would make the headlines, but like not for a good reason. More like man shoots family, then shoots himself. A lot of domestic violence in the home that I grew up in. But my mom's best friend, Kathy, saw the chaos, and she invited us to come to church. And there, as a little 7-year-old girl, I met wonderful people, and I'm like, oh, this is what love looks like. And I knew I wanted to know their God, the author of love. So I received Christ young at 7, and I was baptized by the time I was 8. And I was in the Word. I was on quiz team, and the Word washed me. The Word grew me up. Even in, like, my dad's alcoholism did not improve. It got worse. And even to the point that by the time my sweet mom, she became a Christian the same year as I did. So we kind of grew up in our faith together. And by the time I was in college, a freshman in college, my dad's alcoholism was so out of control that he was spiraling down into suicidal behavior on a regular basis. And he would use it as a threat towards us in the family. And one night I heard my mom screaming. I ran. I woke up everybody and ran to the garage. And my dad was trying to hang himself over the rafters of the garage. And my brother was a football player. So my brother and I grabbed my dad down, pulled him into the house, put him on the sofa, and I sat on my dad's chest, took the noose off his neck, and we sang Amazing Grace over and over and over again to keep my dad from killing himself that night. God showed amazing grace. And my dad at that point started being abusive to my mom in dramatic ways, not just verbally anymore, but in his alcoholic stupor, he would try to hurt her. And so eventually my mom had to separate from my dad. She was, and I can share this because it's in 10 best decisions a single mom can make, my mom's full testimony. I got a phone call from my sister. I was in college, and she's like, you have to come home right now. Mom's in the shower, and she's been sitting there all day in her pajamas, scrubbing the cracks. And it's 8 hours later. Something's wrong with mom. And so mom was like, she was broken. She was broken. And so I drove home, and my sweet friend and roommate was so afraid for me that she got her boyfriend, and she came with us to make sure it was even safe for me to be home.
Okay.
And rescue my kids and my mom if necessary. And we got my mom to the doctor, and the doctor said, Afton, you have 3 choices here. You can stay with him and he will kill you. You can stay with him and you will fracture and you will kill him. Those 2 choices give no parents to your children. Or you can separate from him with the hope and prayer that he will reach out for help. And then you have a chance of each of you growing and being, healthy people, and maybe put a relationship back together. And so that's what my mom did. She separated with hope that my dad would get help for his alcoholism. He didn't. He just remarried somebody else and repeated the same bad pattern. But my mom got healthy at that point. And so I saw what it took to get healthy And both me and my mom forgave my dad because God called us to. And
Hmm.
so we're like, okay, our lives always get better when we say yes to Jesus. So we forgave dad for everything he's ever done, ever said. And that freed us to have healthy relationships. I wouldn't have even recognized Bill as a healthy male had I not forgiven my dad. Now, that
Hmm.
doesn't mean that I went and lived with my dad who was out of control and in an unsafe
Hmm. Hmm.
environment. No, but I kept a relationship with him. I remember when God said, Pam, I want you to look at your dad, not for what you hope he can give, but for what he is giving, and be thankful for the little piece he's giving. He's giving you money for college. Thank him for that. Honor
Hmm.
him.
There you go. Hmm.
Reach out. Say words of their life giving. Bless your dad for anything he does that matches the Bible, and everything else, forgive it. Let it just like wash over you. Don't let it stick, because that'll make you bitter, and that will not make you the kind of person that you want to become. And so
Hmm.
both my mom and I did that year after year after year after year. I mean, my dad's behavior did not improve, but because I did that, I had a good relationship with my dad, and he would call me and he would call Bill and talk about Jesus.
Hmm.
And so by the very end of his life, okay, we're coming up on like the last year of his life, God whispered to me one day, Pam, you just read in the Bible about forgiveness and you applied it. But there's this extra step: bless those who persecute you. I want you to bless your dad. And I'm like, well, I'd be happy to if I could think of anything good. Um, and so God said, I will help you. I want you to just start praying. And when I show you a way to frame up a blessing and write it down for your dad to give it at Christmas, do it. And so
Hmm.
that's what I did. I started praying, and God showed me this day when I was like 4 at an Easter egg hunt, when dad helped me find the golden egg, and we got a big basket of brimming with goodies. And I thought, the egg was smashed and broken. That's why nobody could find the golden egg. It was smashed and broken. I'm like, that is what my dad is like. He's broken. And
Hmm.
that's why he can't give. And that's why, like, he can't live healthy with people, because he was never told, I love you, not once in his life, by his
Hmm.
earthly father. His family was not fractured by divorce, but it was 12 kids, and mom, because she married the town drunk, had to live someplace else, like she was a school teacher. And so the sisters raised the kids, and
Hmm.
they're wonderful people. They love Jesus, but they're young. And so there are pieces of my dad's life that never got filled in. And instead of coming to Jesus and letting God grow him up, he repeated the same bad pattern of alcoholism.
Hmm.
And so things
Hmm.
started clicking and making sense. And so I wrote this tribute to my dad, framed it up, and I complimented him. My dad is a lot like that broken golden egg, full of prize winning potential, but
Hmm.
fractured by hopes and dreams broken. And so I said nice things toward the very end. Some days I hear my dad say, pick up that golden egg, pick up the things of life that life requires you to carry. And so I do. So I complimented him for even the hard times in our
Hmm.
relationship. And
Hmm.
my dad started crying. And he said, Charlie, that was his nickname for me, Charlie, thank you for saying such nice things about this battle good boy.
Hmm.
And if you want to tell our story to help other people, you just do that, Charlie girl.
Hmm.
He had never, read any of my books, but he knew that was important to me. And so he
Hmm.
blessed me to
Hmm.
share our story to help other people.
Hmm.
Freedom, freedom.
Yeah.
And he lived one more year. I have no regrets,
Hmm.
because I knew I did everything to bring the love of God into dad's life. And so much so that when I got the phone call that he was no longer with us from the police, he had a heart attack. I was an executor. I walk in, that tribute was pulled up next to a set of Bible studies and Christian videos
Hmm.
that we had gotten for Christmas for him, and he had watched them
Hmm.
and read them. and the tribute was right next to it. So I knew this is where he spent his last moments.
Mm.
And this sweet little 80-year-old lady walked across the street, neighbor, with some jelly. And she's like, "Oh, are you Billy's kids?" And we're like, "Yeah, I haven't seen him lately." "Yeah, well, he's no longer with us." And she's like, "Oh, he wasn't looking really good. So the other day I brought him over some jelly, and I gave him Steps to Peace with God that I got at the Billy Graham crusade. And I told him that Jesus could mend his broken heart."
Mm.
And that Steps to Peace with God was open on top of the tribute, open to the prayer.
Wow.
I'm
Oh
like,
my goodness.
hallelujah, miracle, glory.
Yes. Oh, that's amazing. Pam, I think I hear a huge contrast in what you just described with what my heart craves, which is this person is wrong. And I need to be the one to show them they're wrong and not to ever retreat from that because I'm the one who draws the lines. I'm the one who holds the gavel. I'm the one who needs to set the record straight. And I see you just putting that gavel in God's hands, letting God draw the lines between right and wrong and letting him deal with the consequences of sin. And you're just like a participant in this story of mercy where your dad, I mean, we don't know, right? If your dad, like you never had a
I
conversation
believe,
about him, but
yeah,
you saw some pretty good evidence there. I think the Lord gave you that.
I think that God gave me the evidence that the very end of my dad's life, that he finally said yes to Jesus. He like always thought he had to get like fixed up, cleaned up better, and then come
Mm-hmm.
to Jesus. I'm like, no, 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 you don't take a bath to have a shower. So
Yes.
one of
That's a
the
good way to
things
put it.
that we had to do was out of love. Really, boundaries are a set of principles you set in place to protect the person that is not walking with Jesus, to protect the person that you might see as choosing some toxic decisions. And so I we at one point had to say, "Dad, I love you so much that my kids will not ride in your car if I deem you've been drinking. Because if
Mm.
anything happened to me and the kids, you would be devastated. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that on your conscience. So
Yeah.
I'll drive your car, or I'll take my own car. And I'm just telling you I love you, and that is why I'm doing this." And
That's a
so
different take on boundaries, Pam. I feel like
right,
most people use boundaries to protect themselves. Like I have to
right.
do what's right for me. Like that's what you just hear is I have to do what's right for me, for my kids, my family, and I'm shutting you out. Where I that is different. That's a shift. That seems more Christ-like, I think.
It that's and God led that to me because I knew I wanted the best of my dad. When he was sober, he was a fabulous dad. He
Mm-hmm.
wasn't sober very much, but when he was a fabulous dad. I knew I wanted my kids to have that. Grandpa only had an eighth grade education, but he rose to the vice president of this corporation.
Wow.
And he had an amazing work ethic. So I don't
Mm.
want to sweep out the
Yeah.
amazing work ethic role
Mm-hmm.
model just because there's this other thing that I am deeming not worthy of my family.
Yeah, I think there's
So,
this idea that we have of either good guy or bad guy. We're the
right,
ones who deem that. And I think Bill, what you were saying earlier is when we're sending our kids, whether they're to be married or just live apart from us, there's going to be things that we hope they'll take with us. And I
mhm,
think
of
there
course,
is, like your dad showed some humility there in saying, I hope that you could tell our story. Like
yes,
it takes a lot of humility to say I did anything wrong. I feel like, we like to put out this big blanket statement of, well, nobody's perfect. That's easy for me to say, but give me the specific things, specific ways that I wasn't perfect. Well, every single one of those is humbling and hard. It's not easy to take any one of those and own them. But I think what you're describing, there's so much freedom and joy in that.
and
Well,
go
well,
ahead. At my dad's
right.
funeral, I read the blessing,
Mm,
and we sang that Chris Christopherson song, "Why Me, Lord? What have I ever done to deserve all the blessings?"
mm,
Because that was the heart of my dad. Like, if he could boil it down, he knew he was imperfect.
mm-hmm.
He didn't need reminded. In fact, that was one of the stumbling blocks that kept him from coming to Jesus, is he didn't know what to do with that shame, that guilt, that imperfection.
Right.
And Josh McDowell even shared the 4 laws with my dad. And so he
Wow.
had a lot of good people. And at the
Yeah.
very end of my dad's life, it seemed like it just clicked in. And I believe God said, Billy Ray, yay, you've come home to me, but I'm not sure you can walk this out because you are so addicted to alcohol.
Wow.
I'm just going to bring you home. I'm just going to bring
Mm.
you home now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Oh,
and
that's
Shannon, to your point, I think somewhere along the way, we adopted a justice mindset rather than a redemption mindset.
okay.
Because what the gospel does, it redeems everything. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that we all deserve to die, but Jesus took it for us,
Mm-hmm.
and he redeemed the sin in our life, and he started turning it into something better. And that's what God's a master at. Is he doesn't protect us from the pain of life, but he takes the pain and he redeems it by turning it into something else.
Mm.
And rather than have that result of grace that we're focusing on, we have this justice mentality. Like, you were wrong, I'm going to declare you're wrong, now we're done.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than, yes, we had some pain in our life. Now, what can God turn it into?
Yeah.
And I know
Yeah.
that's the story I've lived. I grew up in a home where my mom was the dominant personality in my home. My dad's a really smart guy, really nice guy,
Put men on the moon. He's an amazing engineer.
Oh,
Brilliant.
wow. Wow.
but let mom run the show. And my mom grew up in a highly dysfunctional home.
So
Like,
she struggles with mental illness. Yeah.
Okay.
right. And I didn't know the story about my grandma till I was much later. But my grandma she was an out of control alcoholic who would bring men home from the bar with 3 teenage daughters in the house. The teenage daughters would get attention.
They're beautiful.
My grandmother
Mm.
would get jealous of her daughters and try to physically hurt them.
Run to the house
Oh.
like with a knife trying to kill her own daughters. I
Oh
mean,
my
that is toxic. Yes.
goodness.
Yeah. So my mom's reaction to that is she tried to be like strong and outgoing early on in life, but then it just turned into controlling behavior and a lot of fear.
Mm.
So the home I grew up in was run by fear. My mom tried to control absolutely everything in her life, and none of us were allowed to make decisions because she had to make all of them.
Can you give me an
And
example?
my mom decided that we were not going to have any family friends. She tried early on, but then decided people were not reliable.
Hmm.
So we're only going to do things as our family.
5 people.
Okay.
So
Wow.
yes, mom, dad, 3 kids. We did everything together. We would we would do holidays together. Nobody else was allowed to be apart.
Hmm.
And then early on, my mom took us to church a little bit, but then decided crowds of people were not trustworthy. So
Wow.
then she isolated us from church.
Couldn't go to
Hmm.
church.
And then for a
Hmm.
while, my mom and dad, they bought a cabin up in the mountains so that we could hide for the weekends. Like, it
Wow.
sounded good on paper, but she was afraid of the neighborhood. So
Hmm.
we would run around to the mountains and we would hide out in the cabin in order to not be influenced by people.
And Bill
Wow.
came to Christ during this time. It's a pretty amazing story of 16.
Right. So I was the youngest in my family. So my reaction to all the chaos that was going on is I went numb. And when I got to
Hmm.
high school, I was looking for a place to hide, and sports became my place. I was okay enough in sports that I started basketball and football. So I just committed myself to sports and got the high school I can handle it attitude.
Okay.
Well, end of my sophomore year in high school, the movie The Exorcist came out, and I worked it out with a friend of ours to have his dad take us. So I went and saw the movie thinking I can handle it, but I had heard it was based on something true. So while I'm watching the movie, that thought started haunting me.
Hmm.
And I thought, okay, I know Hollywood's overdone all this, but if anything like that could happen to that girl on the screen, and I don't see any difference between her and me, what would
Take me back to that movie. I haven't seen that movie, and maybe some of us
You don't
haven't.
want to see that movie.
Okay.
Oh, it's scary, super scary. Sweet little girl played this girl who became
she became possessed by
possessed
a
by the
demon?
devil. Yeah.
And it took 2 priests to deal with it and finally exorcise the demon out of her. But both of the priests that tried died in the process.
Which is
Oh.
not
So
accurate,
by the
but
end of the meeting, it's Satan 2 and Jesus nothing.
yeah.
Hmm.
Because the girl just went back to what she was. She didn't There's no transformation. There was no relationship with Christ that got started. She just went back to where she was. And so I'm watching this movie,
Very
and
scary movie.
they dramatized it really well. I mean, they showed a lot of really dramatic effects of having a demon in your life. So I get home and I'm like, I don't know what to think of this, and we don't know anybody, and I've been trained not to trust anybody,
Hmm.
so I don't have anybody to talk to.
Hmm.
But my mom, because she grew up in Georgia, we had a Bible in the house. So I started reading the Bible, thinking maybe this is going to help. And I was so scared by all of it. I was getting up 5 and 6 times a night. And every
Oh.
time I would wake up, I would find the Bible again and read a little bit more.
Hmm.
And I actually slept with the Bible for a while because I thought maybe it was like a cross in vampire movies.
Yeah.
You know, if you're holding the Bible, they can't get to you. But after a month of doing that, I read 1 John 4:4 that said, "Greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world."
Hmm.
And the light went on. So my brother had prayed to receive Christ in that same period of time. So I went to his room and I said, "Do you know how to do this?" He said, "Yes." So I went back to my
I
room
love
and
that.
I just prayed. I go, "God, I know I'm a sinner. I know you died on the cross for my sins. And I've heard that if I ask you to come into my life, you'll forgive me and you'll start over in my life." And long story short, he came into my life
Hmm.
and stuff started waking up in my life almost immediately. Like all that numbness that I had started to get
Hmm.
replaced with like actually sensing life and learning. And my brother and I snuck out of the house the next Sunday to go to church because we
Wow.
wanted to figure out what all this meant.
Yeah.
And we were successful for 3 weeks. My mom banned us from going to church after that.
Hmm.
And then my brother and I started a Bible study at our high school campus because we were just desperate. We heard at church you're supposed to study the Bible, so I guess we'll start one. So so
Church planters.
so
Oh my goodness.
we started a really simple Bible study. It was just us sharing what we'd learned that week, and it grew to be 60 high school students that met weekly,
That's
and it
amazing.
ignited something inside of me that was very exciting.
And
This reminds me of the parable of the mustard seed. It's like a little
yes,
seed of the gospel is so powerful that
Yeah.
it can grow up to be this tree that others nest that everybody nests in. Like you got a movie like that is an outlandish evangelistic tool, but
yeah,
God could use even that, right? To just plant the seed, the questions of life and the world that we live in. I love that, Bill. That's amazing.
and almost immediately the same thing happened to me as happened to Bill. Is when you engage in the Word of God, God challenges you to begin forgiving. And so, I mean, there's a lot in Bill's life to forgive. Like
Yeah.
when he was young, he was one of the like 25% of all boys.
Right.
Um,
I was a bedwetter through the 6th grade.
yeah,
And again, I'm youngest in the family, so my mom is getting exhausted because if you have to control everything in your life, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
So, but by the time I'm in 5th grade, my mom's tired of dealing with it. So her solution was to have me sleep in a bathtub for 2 years of my life, so that
Oh.
we didn't have to deal with the effects of bedwetting.
so
Oh
like
my
child services
goodness.
today would probably yank Bill out of
Yeah.
home. I mean, it
Oh.
truly, there's some big stuff here that God was asking Bill to forgive.
Mhm.
And he was faithful every time God brought something up. Bill was faithful to forgive, and then clarity. Okay, now what does that mean in my life? What would be a healthy boundary?
I just have to
We
say, I agree with you guys. Both of you could have done the whole no contact thing and just played right into this
And it actually
cultural.
tried to
Yeah,
like I didn't realize that it's actually a trend in my family. Like in my family, I didn't learn this till my parents were in their 80s. But in
Well,
my
I mean,
family,
we just heard that from your mom, like no contact with her family, right?
but
yeah.
Or
It goes
extended.
further back.
for four
Okay.
generations now, I pieced it together when my parents were in their 80s, and my dad decided to start talking and telling the family story.
Wow.
Well, for 4 generations on both sides, when people get married, they break their relationship with their parents.
Like they didn't come to their weddings, and Bill's mom didn't come to our wedding, and we couldn't understand
Wow.
it. We bought
Yeah,
your dress. I mean, yeah,
Huh.
and I never had a relationship with my dad's parents, and my dad's grandfather just left one day.
They don't know where he
Like
is.
the conversation, he told his wife, I'm going to Texas to start a business. She said, okay, I'm not going with you. And he literally just disappeared.
Vanished.
And
Wow.
nobody ever had contact with him again.
Hmm.
And this stuff's been going on for a long time. I didn't realize it early on. And it tried to happen with us.
Yeah.
Because we had 2 little kids. We went and visited my parents. My mom did something. I still don't even remember what she did.
It's always outlandish, and it's always hurtful, because
Mhm.
if you don't go along with her plan, she just unleashes anger. That's
She
how
goes
she handles.
nuclear. Yeah. Yeah.
She's never been equipped. She's afraid of doctors. So she won't go to a psychologist, and dad won't make her. And every year we were like, this might be a good year, dad, to help mom get, some help for this. But we always got huge pushback. And so it was probably something to do with anger, and probably
Well,
something really hurtful was said and done.
and it affected my kids. I
Yeah.
remember that. And I got so mad. Like, when you're so mad you can't talk? I was there. And I said to Panic, get in the car, don't say a word. That's all I told
I'm
them.
like, come on, kids.
Yeah. And I drove us home. It was about a 2.5-hour drive from my parents' house to where we were living. For 2 hours of it, I was working the steering wheel so intensely my hands hurt.
Mhm.
And I finally said, no more. Like, I cannot allow my mom to have this reaction on me anymore.
And can't allow her to hurt the kids.
And I was thinking about doing what we're talking about. I was thinking about cutting off my parents.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Yeah.
And what stopped me was I was praying about it, and I came to the conclusion, I don't think I can tell my kids that family is important if I have no relationship with my parents.
Yeah.
So I've got to figure this out.
Yep. How
So
can I tell them to never cut me off? And yet I've done that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So what we started talking about is, okay, what can my parents handle?
They can handle about your mom can handle an hour to 90 minutes before she amps up and like explodes. That's about the time frame we have to work with. And she does better when we come up to her world and go out to lunch, so that she feels like she has control. She does better when our boys are like out at the park, not in her house. So we started like taking apart when mom explodes and how we can help her not do that.
And there again, I see you doing boundaries that are loving. It's for the benefit of the person, not me protecting against them.
It's interesting you mentioned before, what most people are doing instead of boundaries is they're putting up walls.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with walls is they're always self-defeating.
Yeah.
Because it points out exactly where people can be hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So, like if I were to tell you, hey, Shannon, it's great to be on your podcast right here, but I don't want to talk about my mom.
That's the first thing you're going to
Well, if you wanted to hurt me, where would you start?
Right. So tell me about your mom.
We've now just pointed out where the sore spot is.
Okay.
And we've pointed out how people can get to us.
Mm-hmm.
So people are saying, I'm never going to talk to my parents again. Well, they're attracting people that are going to stir them up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? What'd your parents do?
Like it's like a magnet
feed the
of
monster.
Bringing unhealthy people in your life when you put up walls.
And then you validate that. Like every other conversation you have just reaffirms the narrative that you're constructing in your own head, right?
Right.
But if I say to you, hey, if we talk about mom, I'd like you to be sensitive because it's a hard topic for me. Now you know, okay, well, if I'm cooperative here, we're going to have a good conversation.
Okay.
If you become uncooperative, I'm going to go, we're being too harsh here. Mm-hmm. And if we're going to stay here, we need to change the subject. Because now we can honestly talk about this, but not have it erupt.
And the other thing that God developed in our life was a little bit of a sense of humor, to help us navigate the unusual and sometimes outlandish experiences when we interacted with Bill's parents. So we wanted to maintain this relationship. Dad was very generous. Dad was brilliant. Like there's so much about dad. He wanted relationship because he didn't have family, so there was a lot of pieces to build the bridge with, especially from on the dad side. And then on the mom's side, we're like, she is so creative. She's like an artist. She like, we started hearing about that she was a songwriter and even took some of her songs to Hollywood stars. So she had this determination side. But one day it was just like years into our relationship, and we had like two little boys, or into our kids. Mom and dad wanted to go to Disneyland to celebrate their 35th wedding anniversary. And all of us siblings are like, Disneyland, she hates people. That's kind of okay. Well, she wants to go to Disneyland. So we head to Disneyland. We'd been on one ride. And we came out, we're standing in front of the castle, and she starts screaming, like melting down, like, get those kids away from me. I'm not the
Oh
babysitter.
no.
Like, we would never leave our kids with her. We set people up for success, not failure. And so she's screaming so loud, other people are taking their children and running away. I mean, it
Oh
is a
dear.
down loud. And so the two daughter-in-laws grab the little kids, and we're running in the other direction. All three siblings are running towards mom and dad. Dad is disabled. He's had a stroke, and so he's kind of hobbling. And they catch up to dad. They're like, how about we meet you like at Main Street for lunch, Pirates of the Caribbean for dinner. But they didn't show up at neither of those places. And this is before cell phones. And
Mm-hmm.
so we were supposed to spend the night with them, but we're like, yeah, that's not safe. So we were headed back to Bakersfield, about 3 hours away. And Bill was calling on the phone like every 30 minutes. We're stopping to make sure they're okay, especially dad. Is he okay?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
no answer. The next day, we go to church. Bill starts calling again to make sure that everybody's okay. Finally, he gets dad on the phone. Your mom wants to talk to you.
So I get on the phone with my mom, and she says, well, yesterday at Disneyland, I got a hold of some bad coffee, and it just ruined the day. And
We
so
had to leave.
we had to leave because of the bad coffee.
So
Okay.
from that
So
point on,
she's
you can have a meltdown in our family, like, oh, it's just the
Yeah,
coffee.
had some bad coffee. We
well,
learned to laugh at it so that we didn't
Cry.
have a bad
yeah.
attitude.
I mean, the alternative is to pound your gavel and say, you are bad. Look, everybody saw that. You are a bad person, and we cannot deal with this anymore. It's like there's one option, which is filled with like a little pride, hubris, superiority, contempt, perhaps. The opposite, I think, laughter has a humility about it. To be able to laugh about the bad coffee is just saying, you know what? It is what it is, and we're not going to cast final judgment. That's not our place. We're going to do what we can. We got to deal with some bad coffee once in a while, right?
Exactly.
And the big payoff is I have two pictures now that I'll treasure for
Yes.
my whole life. I have a picture of my dad, myself, my oldest son, and his son at a Los Angeles Dodgers baseball game. I have a picture of my dad, myself, my 4 generations of Farrell men sitting in the same place, which hasn't happened in my family for at least 100 years.
That's awesome.
And I
Yeah.
watched God do the redemption.
Well, I'm going to cut in one more time and invite you back to part 3 of this conversation with Bill and Pam Farrel, where we're going to talk about what happened when they chose these cancel-free boundaries to love their toxic family members. So I know you're going to want to hear the rest of the story as we explore what does it look like as believers to respond to this cultural idea of going no contact, of instead of boundaries, putting up walls between generations. And what does Jesus call us to? Is there somebody who might really need to hear this conversation? Would you consider passing along this episode? It's our goal here at Live Like It's True to invite people to open God's word and to drink in the true story, which is a story of redemption, and then to go live like it's true. I'd love for you to also check out the resources that Bill and Pam have available for you. They have the book Men Are Like Waffles, Women Are Like Spaghetti. That's only one, though, of a number of books that they've written on the topics of faith, family, relationships, and how to do those at the corner of they call wisdom and love, which is exactly what we've heard today. So go check out their resources at love-wise.com.